Welcome back to the Manifest Your Success podcast. Today, we are joined by the one and only Sam Stewart. Stu is the host of The Present Tense, a local sports radio show and podcast based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is a pleasure to have you on, Stu.
Thank you guys for having me so much. I've been watching some of your guys' stuff. I'm really excited to be on to this. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, pleasure to have you, man. So actually, this is kind of crazy because we're all three sitting here and we all three have like interests. Like we're big into like crypto and investing. We started like a podcast out of it. You're big into like sports, and you started a podcast or a radio show initially out of it. So like just like coming up and like what made you so appealing?
So for me, sports has always been a big part of my life. Ever since my parents bought me a Mickey Mouse baseball at Disney World when I was 5, I've been in love with the game of baseball. I also love basketball. I've never played football, but I do enjoy talking about it. I love extreme sports like surfing as well. Anything that's athletic promotes competition. I believe sports is just the great communicator, and we can tell so many great stories through sports. And even on my radio show, I have people on from sports I don't really know a whole lot about, like field hockey, volleyball, but to be able to learn about sports, because I believe that sports is one of the only areas in life where you're tested every single day, and there's a lot of lessons that can come from that. So, man, ever since I've been really on this earth, I've been in love with sports. So.
That's awesome, dude. I can relate so much, dude. I feel like you can literally like play a sport and you can gain so much out of it, like mentally, physically, and like emotionally. And if you really just push yourself through like hard things in life, like it'll carry over.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too is like I was just talking about this with someone the other day. It's like I feel like I umpire in the summer, and like one of the biggest lessons that I see parents missing in sports is like, I don't believe in participation trophies or anything like that, but when you lose, there's a lesson that is as valuable as winning there. And I think as a society, we need to say it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to lose, and yeah, you're not going to get that trophy, but there's a lot of lessons that can be learned there too. So I think it's both sides of the coin. Like sports teaches you how to win, but it also teaches you how to lose, which is almost more important.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I think that's so valuable, and I really want to dive into kind of like what encouraged you to start Present Tense, because I've watched a lot of your stuff, and I feel like you kind of go into not just like this is sports cool, whatever. Like you kind of dive into like the story and what you can get out of sports. So I guess could you kind of describe briefly like maybe what Present Tense is and how you kind of started?
For sure. So this all started a while back in COVID, that crazy time that we all lived through. And basically my friends in Raleigh, who I'd been around with, I'd been friends with them for a long time. My friend Scotty Schemmel, Severin Mole, Max Q, they were the main guys with it. They started this company called Sports Realm, and one day they invited me over to their to Scotty's house, and in his attic, I was like, wasn't sure what was going on. He had this cool like studio set up, kind of like this, and he was like, hey, we just want you to talk about baseball for like 10, 15 minutes. Hopped on, and I was like, yo, this is like really fun. So fast forward through a quarantine, in school quarantine, first semester's going. It's an interesting time, a lot of things going on. Me and my friend go to the club fair. I see this guy standing with the boom box. And I'm like, yo, this is like sick. Like he's bumping some music. I'm like, what is this? He's like, this is a college radio station, 91.7 FM WNJR. Shout out to Dr. Meriden. Done a great job at our college radio station. So I talked to him. 2 weeks later, I'm like, let me go in and get interviewed by this guy. So I go in, I talk to him about it, and he's like, yeah, I think you could definitely start a show here on WNJR. And the thing is, I was not sure what I wanted to do, but I was like, hey, I have this experience with the Sports Realm guys. Shout out to the Sports Realm Media Company. Like, we did this podcast during quarantine. So I go back to my room. He's like, you got to come up with a name. Like, you can get started in a couple weeks. So I'm sitting there, watching my favorite documentary, The Last Dance, about Michael Jordan. And, I love this documentary so much. We probably talk about the podcast about this documentary. But I'm watching the last episode, and like they're showing all of his highlights after he beats the Jazz in the Last Dance year. And the song The Present Tense plays by Pearl Jam. And the line is, it makes much more sense to live in the present tense. And I was like, that's it, the present tense. And 2 weeks later, I had my first episode. I was nervous. I was fumbling through my lines. But it's been a great journey, not only learning about podcasting itself and the medium in which we can communicate, and that's why I love podcasting, but also just learning about people's stories. And I think the present tense, being in the moment, being in what's here and now has been an important lesson for me, and being able to learn from everyone's stories, everyone around me, and what they're going through in the here and now has been one of the most valuable and rewarding things I've ever done in my life. So
That's awesome to hear, man. I really stick with that present tense like motto right there. Like,
thanks. I actually, for the cameras, I actually got it tatted on me. this summer. This is Psalm 119, 105, part of my like religious beliefs, and then this is present tense in Latin. So
okay, what's with the wheel? Is that
that's the sun
or?
and that's the waves. Because I'm surfing, like I said, is one of my favorite sports. I am a big follower of the sport of surfing. So yeah,
that's awesome. You touched on something like just about conversation, like being in a podcast, and I feel like me and Sam have really like learned a lot just from talking with people, and you can gain so much out of literally having a conversation with someone like over and over again, and like it carries over even in your real conversations in life.
Oh, most definitely.
So I'm curious, like when you were first starting it, like did you have like a plan, like when you were podcasting or when you were like recording in the studio? Did you like go in and you were just like, I'm going to talk to this person for 10 minutes, or what was it like?
So typically, so you're talking about like at the beginning or like
now?
Beginning. So at the beginning, I monologued a couple of episodes. I didn't have any guests. I've seen you guys have had some really cool guests on. But it took like 10 or 12 episodes before I was able to get people on, and then I was begging people to come on at that point. But for me, preparation was always big. I mean, it was a lot of Friday nights sitting in my room, a lot of the Saturday nights when everyone else was out, just kind of going through my stuff, because that was my happy place. Like, and sometimes I'll go out now, but partying has never really been my happy place. It's been, focusing on my projects. And in terms of like this project that I'm doing with podcasting, I think research has always been big for me. I want to make the guests feel like someone's really paying attention to their story. Because I think I've been very blessed to have parents who really have, validated me and, shown me a lot of good things about myself. But I know not everyone has that experience growing up. So for me, if I can take an interest in their life and they're like, oh, how'd you know that about me? And I find this obscure article from the News and Observer from 2012. Like, if I can take interest in them, I know they're going to open up more. And I know that they're going to have a better conversation because they can trust me. And I think that's a very valuable thing. It's very important. If someone gives you their trust, you have to be able to use that in the correct way. And I think also I tell my guests to get there pretty early. We have that conversation before the show. And so I think it's a lot of preparation, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So I definitely prepare a lot of questions beforehand.
Dude, I think that's so true. We had a guy on a few months ago, Josh Gooder, and he was basically saying he would, like, if you go get coffee with someone and all of a sudden you say like, hey, I love that, blah, blah, like that, you just show that you really went the extra mile to really find out something about them that they might not have known. Like exactly what you said, they will open up to you. So I think that's so valuable. But I also think kind of what you said about how, initially it was hard to get guests on. Like we went through that same thing. Our first 10 episodes was just me and him talking about some random stuff.
Hey, it's definitely useful stuff though.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, check it out.
It's awesome to see like watch yourselves like grow in terms of how you can speak, like the people you can get on and stuff like that. So I'm curious, maybe when you started the podcast, what were some things that maybe ended up being a lot more difficult than you had initially thought?
That's a good question. I would say, I think for me, it was being myself, because at first, I'm gonna be honest with you, when I go back and listen to some of those episodes, we have people come on for the second time, I think I was not being my true self on air at the beginning. And, if anyone from like W&J or any followers of the Present Tense listen to this, they might be like, what are you talking about? But I think now when I'm on air, I'm not afraid to make fun of myself. I'm not afraid to like laugh. I'm not afraid to like be really vulnerable. But I think that at the start, I was kind of just like trying to be like this like radio host, podcaster guy instead of just being myself. And then I think when the show started to gain more people, it's because I was willing to be vulnerable on there and be myself. And it's like, I had to realize, well, if this is going to make it big, I don't want it to make it big being someone I'm not. So I think being yourself and being able to communicate as your true self with other people can be difficult. Because I think society puts the idea in front of us, we have to talk this way, podcasts have to be this way, radio people have to be this way. But at the end of the day, we're all creators, and I had to create in my own style. So that was one of the most difficult things I had to learn, and it's been a valuable lesson not only in the podcast studio, but in my life as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like we see that trend a lot. Like even for myself too. Like when you're around all this equipment and you have cameras going, you're like constantly thinking like, oh, what am I saying? Like
exactly, yeah, for sure.
And like we've seen guests come on and they're like, oh, what do I say? Like they kind of get nervous and we're like, no, it's just a conversation. Just be yourself.
That's what I always say
talk.
too. Good point.
Like just try to block out all the noise. So I'm curious. So you started first like in the college. Like he approached you as a radio host.
Yes.
So like how did that process like play out? Like how did you get to become a radio host? Where you just showed up one day?
So I mean, the communications department is pretty small at W&J. I'm not gonna lie. And so basically, I had showed up and I was like, hey, I want to do this show. And he was like, just go for it. And it sounds a little bit weird for people that have bigger communication departments at their school. But, you know, I've been fortunate. He gives me a lot of freedom. The department has been very supportive of me. You know, I just started throwing up my camera this year for the video, and then I did some alumni episodes where I had like we'd interview people around Pittsburgh and stuff. Definitely excited to get back to that. But I'm actually also a work study there. So like I picked up another responsibility of DJing this year as well. So like that's always fun. But yeah, it was basically just like, hey, do you want to start? Let's rock. And it was in COVID. Not many people were on campus. And, you know, that's just when it started. And it's been an awesome experience. But yeah, I can't really say there was some big moment where I was like, you know, this is the stuff. I mean, I kind of just went in and started it. So
yeah, that's kind of similar with us for sure. So like when you were going through your first guests, like how did you decide like who you wanted to have on? Was it just like random players that you met or people that you knew
I'm
already?
not gonna lie, like it was tough to meet people in the COVID year. Our school had a lot of restrictions, but like for me, honestly, it came a lot from just doing activities I liked, like playing basketball was some of how I met the first people who came on my show. And then I think being a small college helped because someone would be like, oh, this is the radio show like this guy does, and then they tell their friend, and like, you know, now like I'll see someone at a frat party and they'll go up to like their friend and be like, oh, that's the guy who does the show. Like, so, and I think like also just like, yeah, it really, I can't really say it's anything but the small college. I mean, initially it started like playing basketball in class with people, but like now it's like, you know, you just run into people and it's, I always tell people the big college experience is very, very different from like where you guys go. Like, so I have to put it up to the small college experience, and also just like social media too. Shout out my friend Okikiola Agbale. He helped me with the social media a lot. So yeah, I think at the start it was just activities I did, but now it's like through social media and stuff like that as well. So
right, that's perfect. I guess we can dive into like spreading, because obviously there's the word of mouth like around campus if someone knows you, but also there's an aspect of like social media
for sure.
So like how important did you think that was, like to putting it online and really
at first? Not at all. I'm not gonna lie, I hated doing the social media stuff. Still not a big fan of it, and you guys do like a great job. I can honestly learn some stuff from you, but like I had to teach myself how to do like some edits and stuff like that, real basic stuff, because I knew like I think with the Instagram, like even people didn't listen to the show, they will listen to the clips. Like some of my clips, you know, got decent numbers this semester, and like I think the medium of the podcast is awesome, but also like a 1-2 minute clip, you don't know how that could affect someone listening. Like one of your guests says something profound, you know what I mean? But for me, I would say that social media has been very important, just because I think with like reposting and stuff, and honestly Instagram Reels, the clips, people see and their friends are able, even if they're not able to listen to the show live or even on YouTube, they can see it, and that puts the name, that puts the brand. Like to me, I consider if you listen to a clip, that's listening to episode of the present tense. So like that's why I take the clips very seriously as well. So
yeah, I agree completely, and that's something that we were kind of slacking off at the beginning, but it's like a little extra work, but the payout is huge, so it's so worth it.
I mean, I think one thing to keep in mind is like this is like, to me, this is the fun part, like but the part before and the part after, I think that's what really, like, it's like with working out. Like take this for example, like your stretching, your cold showers, your foam rolling, all that stuff is very important. It's going to help you get a lot of gains in the gym, but it's not the fun part. Like this is the fun part. Working out is the fun part, but it's the recovery and the getting warmed up that allows you to perform your best. So
right, the hardest part is getting started.
Exactly, most definitely.
That's a great analogy, and that's definitely gonna end up on Instagram Reels. But I wanna kind of backtrack to kind of how you said how being yourself is something you really strive to do, and I think like I see that in all your things where
Thank you.
Right from the start you're full of enthusiasm. You're like, what's up guys, welcome back to WNJR. And you can tell like you're like interested in what you're talking about. Like you enjoy talking to these people about sports. So I want to kind of take something out of your book and throw it back at you.
Okay.
I see you often, one of the things you say is like, what's your favorite part of this? What's your favorite part of that? So what's your favorite part of running the show?
So my favorite part of the show is, so I also, one of my other hobbies is writing, and I like to think of everything kind of in life as a book. And I think everyone in life is the main character of their story. And we are the greatest creators of our lives. We're all artists. We're all creators because we are creating that character that's in our book. And to be able to hear from other people's stories and see how they've turned the page, see how they've opened new chapters, how they dealt with past chapters, that has been really rewarding for me. And to be able to not only just do it on air, but to be able to talk to people after the show. You know, I've had a lot of friends where I've been going through rough times, or I just haven't had the best day, and they stick around and talk to me after. And then, now as I'm getting older, I'm a junior, like maybe some freshman kids come in and then they're like wondering questions. I can help them. I think we can learn so much from just like looking at other people's stories, and to be able to tell people's stories has been really rewarding for me.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's kind of like what we're starting this whole podcast.
Oh, that's
for.
awesome.
It's like get people's stories out there, and obviously anyone who hasn't listened to Present Tense, it's really, really interesting podcast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I think like the base we started with is W&J, but I think the stories people tell anyone can relate to. I try to shape it that way to where it's not just the W&J experience. Like, yeah, we'll talk about like the best spot to eat in Washington or something, small town, but mostly it's like life lessons too. So usually the first half is just sports, and then life stuff anyone can relate to.
So who are some like distinct guests that you really enjoyed? Like,
man, you put me on a spot. Man, so we're on episode 90. We just finished 97. So we've had quite a few guests. But I think to me, I hate to do this to you.
Or maybe some stories. You don't have to choose specific
No,
people.
it's all right. I can give you the guess. I hate to be like general because I hate when people give general answers on my show. But I will say, like, for me, there was a group of amazing seniors last year because I was in a little bit of a sophomore slump, you call it, with a lot of areas of my life, like sports, academics, some stuff. And like those people just really were there for me. And I think I knew them really well off air. And like, to be honest, I had a lot of return guests on at that time just because I wanted to hear their philosophy on life. I mean, I don't want to list them all because I know if I forget someone, but just that group was just really amazing. Just a group of seniors that really helped me out. I mean, a couple people who are really, really close to me I've hung out this semester with as well. I already shouted him out, Kiki. He's a great guy. He's starting his own clothing brand, really creative mind. Coach Nick Daza, he's a wrestling assistant coach, and like he's helped me lift this semester. He had a great mindset when he came on the show. And another person, Piper Morningstar, she went to W&J. She played basketball there, just like Kiki. And, she's been a great help to me as well. And I think all these people have something in common. They have this drive to not settle into what society wants them to do. Not saying like they don't have a job and stuff, because they do. You have to get that out of college. But they have a lot of passion, and they don't let anyone control who they are as a person and anyone control that passion. I really respect that. I want to be around those people. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I respect that out of you too, because you found this, like, you had this passion out of sports and you figured out a way to turn it into
Thank
something
you. I
you
appreciate
love.
it. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. It's really awesome that you can. I think that's like a big theme, like that we kind of want to instill for anyone listening is like, whatever you want to do in life, just do it and like figure out a way either to make money off of it or do it as a hobby on the side hustle. And like, if you really can learn how to do that and apply that to your life, you're going to live a much happier life than if you try to go around doing what someone else is going to do.
Yeah, most definitely. Yep.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you've already mentioned a couple times is just like, don't be afraid to do your own thing, right? Like, you don't have to do what someone else does. If you want to do so-and-so, then go do so-and-so. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If that's what you enjoy, go do it.
Yeah, now obviously, like, there is like, obviously you guys know money restrictions and stuff on sometimes things we can do. But I think here's one of my things is I know you guys talk about time management and stuff a lot. Like, people say life is short. In my opinion, life is really long. One of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite episodes, Bryn Bizak, Megan Dryberg, they're awesome. W&J basketball, they're killing it right now. The women's team, they're balling out. But Bryn, her quote of the day on the show was, "You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough." And I've always stuck by that. And I think that life, people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But in truth, like, we have enough time to do whatever we want to do in life. It's just a lot of people don't take that first step because I heard, do you guys know who David Goggins is?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Dude, big fan. I'm trying to read his second book. I read his first one. So we have this big rock that's presented for it. This is like our goal. It's tough setting the rock up there. Okay. We got our goal. Chipping away to get to that diamond in the middle. A lot of people are so scared of that, they don't even start. And I think that we have the time to chip away at that rock. We're just scared that we might not get to the center ever. And it's exhausting. Like, I've talked about it like once before on here, but just writing is like, I do enjoy podcasting, but I have to switch it up sometimes. I'm trying to get a book published right now. I've tried to be honest about the journey because, man, the publishing industry, it's brutal. But I guess what I'm getting at is like, you have to keep chipping away. And that can be very difficult sometimes. And I think as humans, we like to see the gratification right away, but it's also very rewarding when you get something that you've worked for long term.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm curious, like, what book are you writing? Like, what inspired you to write a book in the first place?
I mean, I don't want to get into all like the themes and stuff because I still worked on it. And I don't like, I try to keep the plot a little bit secret.
Okay, that's fair.
Maybe not like essential, but I think it's just fun to keep it secret a little bit. But what inspired me basically is like the challenges that our generation has faced. So basically, like being born during, you know, the time of 9/11, it's a time that's really unprecedented. You know, obviously dealing with things like school shootings, the pandemic, like our generation has faced a lot of challenges. So I basically wanted to tell the story of a person who deal with some of these themes as well and deal with those conflicts out in the world, but also dealt with those themes of suffering and anguish in his own soul. And I think dealing with that and learning to improve himself and grow both, you know, emotionally and spiritually as well. I think that, you know, and there's some crazy things that happen. It's kind of a thriller. But I would say that one of the biggest things that I could tell people is that in life, it's just you versus you. And that's what I really wanted to capture in this book. And I will die on that hill, you know, until the day I die, that it's you versus you. And I've had a lot of debates with people. To me, it's you versus you in this life. That's really all it is.
I couldn't agree more, honestly.
I look forward to the book. I'll definitely read it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. It's a long process, but I will say it's one of the more rewarding things I've done. Like, it's, you know, I was up last night like 3 a.m. like pounding it out. But yeah, I try to just remember that even if it doesn't get published, it's still something that I love and still something that I've enjoyed doing. So even if no one ends up reading it or it doesn't get published, like, it'll still be an achievement that I was able to work on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think people underestimate the value of writing in itself too. Like not even if you're publishing it anywhere. Just your ability to like type something down and work through a thought is so valuable.
Most definitely. And I know you guys talk about this sort of stuff. So I mean, journaling too, man. Like, I journal every night. Like, the thing is, like, when you write stuff down, at the end of the day, you're really forced to look at yourself in the mirror, which is a really powerful thing. You have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. You have to be able to sleep. Did I give everything I could give on this day? Like, I'm a big fan of Stoicism. Are you guys familiar with that school of philosophy? I read The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Really great book. I know you guys review books sometimes. I would definitely check it out. Short book, like 180 pages. And basically what he says is he talks about Marcus Aurelius and, like, death is the great motivator. And, like, it's a little taboo to talk about in our culture, but I took a philosophy of death class. And, like, you have to say, like, okay, I'm going to die someday. Did I do everything this day I could to live the best life, to be the best human being I could be?
That's great.
Yeah.
I had to let them sit with that for a few seconds.
Hey, we got to get a little deep. I am a philosophy major, so I love to talk about life philosophy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious, like, transition back into, like, the podcast. So how have you, like, kind of evolved? You kind of touched on it, like really understanding the guests is, like, a really big thing, and just being yourself. Are there any things that you've seen that you've changed and be like, okay, I did this wrong in the past, and I really should do this instead?
That's a great question. I was thinking you might ask that. I've been thinking on it, but to be honest with you, I feel like I had to be okay. I mean, the answer I just gave kind of indicates I like to get deep sometimes, but my friends Katie and Alex Wagner, shout out to them. They were a big help as well. They told me, like, hey man, you got to go swim on the shallow end sometimes. You got to have some fun. Like, and I think balancing that idea of deepness and, like, life philosophy versus just, like, oh, like, what's your favorite type of pizza, or what's your favorite movie, or if you had to listen to one musical artist for the rest of your life, like, fun questions like that. Like, or if you're a DJ at the party and everyone was looking at you to put on a song, like, stuff like that, really funny, random, like, that can be good too. And I think just a balance of that, and I constantly try to work on that, is, like, the funny and the serious, and, like, we might have one moment where we're, like, you know, close to crying, and then one moment where we're, like, dying laughing, and then I'll, like, bring, like, props sometimes. Like, I brought a basketball and the girls taught me how to shoot free throws, like, just a balance of things. Because I think if you stick with one thing, like, I mean, we could talk, like, deep for, like, 3 hours about life and the meaning of life and all that. And it's all good and fun, but also, like, we gotta have some fun too. So try to keep that balance.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so let's get into some fun then. Okay. So you mentioned The Last Dance, and I'm a big basketball fan myself. I follow it. So you seem to have a bias towards MJ. So do you think MJ is better than LeBron James?
Most definitely.
Okay. What makes you say that? I'm sure there's some sports listeners right now that are listening from your audience.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with. I mean, I think the angle that I'm attacking from, although I think statistically MJ does have a better box plus minus, and I think he has better games, better averages in the finals. But I will say this in terms of, I think if I'm guessing you're a LeBron guy. So
I am, yeah.
Okay, I'll meet you on this ground here because I think this is my strongest argument. LeBron. His losses in the finals do it for me. MJ is 6 for 6. He stayed with the same team his whole career. And I think that the idea of LeBron has said multiple times, we need a point playmaker. We need someone on this team. Also, LeBron's got 4 rings. Now, I'm not going to be the guy who says he'll never pass him. If he could get 6, I think it would probably be LeBron. But for me, it's got to be MJ. 6 for 6 in the finals. I mean, I would like to hear your argument because I think like the idea. If you come at it, I'll have to see what angle you come at it from. So what would you have to say?
I mean, I could take it a lot of angles, but okay. So I like to ask also this question. Obviously, there's who you think is a better player, but I'm curious, who do you think if you were to start a new franchise, who would you could pick any one player out of the whole world? Who would you pick?
The history?
Yeah,
I'm picking Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain,
I'm
really?
picking Wilt Chamberlain, yeah.
In any day and like in
today's
day and age, you're picking Wilt Chamberlain.
I don't know if you guys you guys didn't go to Wakefield Middle School. Severin Mole, do you guys know him? No, sir. Yeah, sports realm. You gotta go check him out. Man's basketball breakdowns are crazy. But like essentially, like I think if you're talking about like starting a franchise, I'd probably have to say Wilt, just because that man's stats were crazy. And like the thing is, like he was 7'2", he won 3 NCAA long jump titles. Like his athleticism would play today. I'm telling you, it would. And the man was crazy. They said he could lift with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he played soccer with Pele. Like he was so athletic. Like I'd honestly pick him because I feel like as a big man who could do all those things. Like, and I think he was like physical too. You know, he obviously played against Bill Russell. Like I don't know. I would honestly take Will. I would throw it just to throw it out a little bit.
No,
but
yeah.
if you had to between MJ and LeBron, I would pick MJ just because like I think his mindset. And you can see that in The Last Dance is just a lot different than LeBron's, and I think I would like that on my team more.
I agree. I will give it to MJ for his mindset.
That's
I think he's by far like one of like had the most killer mindset out of
like him and Kobe.
Him and Kobe are insane.
And I know people talk about like mama. Like there's only a few people on this earth who will ever have them all. Like that man Kobe slept 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
And then he'd break it up. He'd sleep like 2 hours, get up, work out, sleep another 2. Like do like 3-4 workouts a day. Like the Redeem Team documentary was really good. Basically, the guys talked about they're talking about like they're coming back from the club at 5 a.m. Kobe's walking out to go work out in the gym. Like it was just a different.
And I think that apply like we were talking about at the beginning of the show. It's like sports. You can apply that mindset if you apply that to anything in life.
Oh, for sure. There's people who definitely have the Mamba mindset and like other things too, for sure.
Yeah, just to give you the quick overview of my LeBron argument, I would just say that it's probably just an all around like. When I see a player and I think of the best player around, like you can literally put him at any position. MJ was a scorer, and he was probably one of the best scorers, and like he was the most dedicated scorer of all time. And he would look at opponents like they were the Satan, you know, and like he would absolutely destroy them like mentally. But I think like the best player around is gonna bring up other teammates around them. LeBron never fought his teammates in practice. LeBron never punched his teammates. Like
I think you also gotta think who. But. So LeBron never punched, or Michael Jordan and Steve Kerr, they were still close even after that, and he trusted him to make that shot. LeBron has.
He was the best 3-point shooter of all time in percentage history. Like,
but LeBron, you got
who would not trust him to make that shot?
LeBron, yeah, but I'm saying you still trusted him though, even though he fought him. And LeBron, did he not want Isaiah Thomas traded? Did he not want to leave several teams? If he would have elevated people around him, why wouldn't he just stayed in his location?
That's a good point. Most of the time I've seen that where he does leave a team is a problem with the management, and that's been the history.
But then if he goes back to Cleveland, it's the same management.
I mean, but they switched, and he won a chip for them. He left them, and he came back.
They had the same owner though.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, we can dive really deep into this if we want to keep going.
But hey, I'm down to discuss whatever. So yeah, no, that's. It's obviously the classic argument, like LeBron versus Jordan. Probably will never be solved, honestly. Honestly, like, it's an interesting point. I don't even like discussing ranking players that much. I like think about like recognizing like their greatness like in the moment. Because I think like obviously like it's like hard to say like how LeBron would do in the Jordan era or Jordan would do in the LeBron era. Like obviously we can make like predictions, but you can never know. Like even like Wilt, like how would he do today? Like Kareem, Bill Russell, like. So it's hard to say, but yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of ranking players, but that's one like people love to discuss, and you know, I do love The Last Dance, and I do love Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Last Dance was a great documentary. I think it was one of the best for sure.
I don't really watch basketball, so I don't have an opinion, but I'll tell you just based off like what I'm hearing, MJ going 6 for 6 in the finals seems pretty significant.
See, okay, then like yeah, that okay, you're gonna make that argument, but then Bill Russell, he won 13 titles, so
11.
Like, 11. So like you can't really. That's what I'm saying. Like you can't compare a player to a team. He was literally on the best team with the best coach of all time, the best 3-point shooter of all time, arguably the best defender of all time. Dennis Rodman.
Hold on, you said Steve Kerr is the best 3-point shooter of all time?
Percentage wise, yes.
I mean, he might have percentage, but I got Stephen Curry.
Okay, Stephen Curry was definitely the best shooter of all time in history by no debate, but percentage wise, yes, he's the best. But I'm just saying, like MJ had a team around him. He didn't. Before he got Scottie Pippen, he didn't make it past like the first or second round.
They also played the Celtics. I mean, with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale.
You remember the team with when LeBron made it to the finals in like 2007? Can you name another player other than LeBron James?
Agauskas. But also, you gotta think like the East was. I would say it was a lot weak. They obviously beat like the Pistons, or they did beat the Pistons, but like they were washed at that point. Like, but yeah, I mean, people make that argument a lot, like before he got like Pippen, but like, did LeBron not? I mean, without AD, you see the Lakers record this year. You know what I mean? Like,
AD's been popping off this year.
Yeah,
I'll have to give it credit to him. Yeah. I'm curious. Are you interested in like sports betting or anything?
Nah, not at all.
Do you have any like predictions about the space or like where you think it's going?
The space?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't have anything to say on it. I don't know. I don't even know what a money line is, to be honest with you. So like,
I'm right there with you.
I've learned it's like, I don't know. There's a reason the buildings in Vegas are big and you're living in a normal house. It's because they make more money off you than you make off them. So I think they always win in the end. That's what I would tell everyone. Be careful.
Yeah.
But
the house always wins.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like that is true. Like if you're going to a casino or you're going to a sports bet, like I don't do any sports betting. I don't even know if it's legal in the NCAA, but yeah, I just would say just be careful with your money. I don't know. What do you guys think about this space?
I think it's going places.
For sure.
I really do, but I think there's a lot of regulation involved. I mean, it goes for a lot of sectors right now where it's like, okay, we don't know how to regulate this space because there's a lot of money that's involved, and the government wants their share, and they're going to get their share. So it's just kind of time. And but I think it's definitely big, and I think you see it. Like I don't know, I see it just in like the people that I work with.
Yeah,
and like they're so passionate about it, and they're getting involved in a game when they're not even in the game.
It
like,
also, it makes it like you're watching like a Tuesday night game. Who was that? We was like the Magic and the Jazz, I think, or the Nuggets, and someone was like, it was like layup first bucket. This guy, I think it was Aaron Gordon, layup. And they got it, and it was like, you know, it was like they got like $25. Everyone was like jumping around. It's like, I mean, I'm sure it adds like excitement to like any ordinary game.
I just think people chase that dopamine fix, and like if they can get it by putting $20 on an app, they'll eventually get.
What's y'all's thoughts on like dopamine detox and stuff like that? Y'all go into that space at all, like about like working out and life and stuff?
I think it's like it's essential. It's like a hack to. In my view,
dopamine detox.
Yeah, like set aside. I've watched like so many YouTube videos of this. To be fair, like I haven't done like a true like multiple day long dopamine detox, but I think like it's important to have that reset, especially when you're spending the whole semester like engrossed in school, like staring at your laptop every day, staring at your phone. Like you need to take a break and kind of reset, because like science literally proves like your dopamine levels are just getting totally thrown out of whack from all of that.
Yeah, I think also to build on that is like, not even just like scientifically, but like when you take that break and you step back, you really look at your life differently. And like you see, like for me, in our productivity and time management episode, we talked about like how much time you spend on your phone. And if you like look at it and you're like, okay, you got 4 hours on your phone, then you like take a step back and be like, okay, what if I wasn't on my phone for 4 hours? Or what if I didn't do these? What if I didn't watch this Netflix documentary for 4 hours straight? Like, and then you're like, okay, I could really do something a lot better with my time, like write a book or start a business or whatnot.
So here's my I think like some of these like YouTubers and with the dopamine detox, like, so I mean you get a lot of things from dopamine. It's not just like the things we think about, like I mean like food or like pornography or like all that bad stuff, like like junk food or stuff like that, or even like video games. Like I think it's perfectly fine to like play video games, but I will say this: I think there's different ways you can get dopamine, and they're not different types. I misspoke, but like if you are, for example, doing something where you work out, like that is dopamine is released when you work out. When you take a cold shower, actually people don't know this, a lot of dopamine is released because we're used to humans. Our climate systems are so coddled, our internal systems. Like it's like I got my cold shower in this morning, like, and it sucks. Like even we'll go surfing in the cold water, like you feel a lot better after you get out of the cold shower, and like that is like a really like cliche thing to say on a podcast, and like everyone's saying, but it is true. Like
it is.
You hop in for like 2-3 minutes, man. I'm telling you, and it's not like for the faint of heart, but you get used to it over time. I mean, there's a reason why the Navy SEALs do it. It helps you recover. And I think like those type of things, building dopamine patterns in the brain that go for those type of things, like even in like runner's high, like that's dopamine. So it's not like when you do nothing and like, or even just like, just go about your day without using electronics, you're not getting dopamine, because you are. But it's like you got to think the dopamine pathways in your brain, what your body reacts to. You got to build it things that are good, that are productive. Because if you expect a dopamine hit right away out of things, like if you take a drug, like you're expecting the dopamine hit right away. You know what I mean? So you got to build those productive long-term habits, because you got to do. Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about this. You got to do what is gratifying, not what gives you an immediate gratification, because it's more rewarding at the end of the day. And building those patterns to create those things, to create those pathways for long-term success is really beneficial.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, really, because that really is a good point. Like, obviously, there's different types of dopamine, but it's just not. You don't want to completely get rid of your dopamine. If you don't have dopamine in your life,
exactly,
you're probably
yeah.
die.
And I think like that's the whole like thing with like influencers and like YouTube is like it's definitely like reductionist, but like I think there is something to like, and that's another role playing video games like that. Like one of my favorite things after a long day is just going home and playing like a video game. Like it's fun, but like I think there's you know, I went to I learned a lot, and I know we really haven't talked since I left Heritage High School to go to Profile Academy, which is a great opportunity. And our coach used to tell us like, and I was just really confused with everything of like how to manage all this in my life, and it was a great experience learning how to do that. But he would tell us, hey, look, like with girls or with your family, with baseball, every relationship has its time. And I think that, you know, when I'm at baseball, I want to focus on baseball. When I'm doing the present tense, I want to focus on present tense. Like if I'm at home, present tense is over for the season, I want to focus on writing. So you have a relationship with different things in your life, but you got to keep those relationships separate. It's like a you think of it as a globe. All the planets don't touch each other. They go around separate. They're separate and independent of one another.
Right, and you kind of like you got to keep that structure. But like we were talking about, it's all about balance. Like you don't,
for sure,
you don't want too much fun in your life. You don't want too much like seriousness. You want like a little balance of both.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely. And
it's hard to find it though.
Yeah, and I think also like one of the things that I've learned doing, you know, this part of my life is that sometimes like I think you talking about like fun and happy, like though I think fun is that's a feeling. There's a difference between feelings and thoughts, because I think feelings come from a place that's in our body. My friend Juan used to drill this in my head all the time. Like our body's gonna feel things, and some days you're just not gonna feel as good. But the thing is with feelings, like if you think about the ocean, it's gonna come and leave no matter what. The tides come and go. Do you guys know what a rip current is?
Yes.
Yeah. So a rip current is gonna pull you out, and if you try to fight against it, you're gonna drown. You gotta swim to the side, but sometimes, you know, most of the time what people tell you is you just gotta let it take you out. Then you get to the point where you can swim to the side and you swim to the side. And in life, if we try to fight against our feelings, if we try to deny our feelings in life, then we're gonna drown. And we have to let those feelings take us where they're gonna go. And remember that feelings are just feelings, and that we have thoughts. And as humans, we don't have to be subjugated to our feelings of how we're feeling on any given day. Because one of my favorite quote of the day is, "This too shall pass." And on any given day, good things might happen. You don't know the good things that are going to come down the road even after that, or bad things might happen too. And then there's going to be good times after that. There's going to be bad times after that. So just remembering that, you know, feelings come and go, and don't chase happiness. Don't chase excitement, I would say. Just chase new experiences and just see what comes to you, because you don't know what feelings are going to come up inside when you react to new things, but you're never going to know unless you try new things.
That's very insightful. And all of that kind of reminded me of like meditation. Are you a practicer of meditation at all? Or?
I do. Meditation looks a little bit different for me. I've never been one to like sit. And I think one of the biggest things with meditation is just being in the moment. And I think like for me, the way I like to meditate is if I am sitting somewhere in like the more traditional sense, I like to do one breath in, one breath out. And then that's counts as one, and you go two. And every time you think of something that's not in the reality around you, you just start over. And you're not punishing yourself. You just say, okay, I'm gonna start back at 1. And I think like sometimes I've gotten to 4 or 5. Some of the times where I've been really, really good, maybe get like to 6, 7. But it's really hard to get to 10 if you're like really doing it right. And because I think sometimes we get so caught up in our heads, and like the only thing that exists, and this is a little philosophy coming in, is the reality around us, in my opinion. Like all those thoughts, and for me, I'd play out scenarios about, oh man, like I'm gonna see this person, and like, oh man, I have the podcast. They're like, the only thing that exists is what's around us right now. And if you can realize that, you're like, huh. That voice in your head starts to get a little quieter. And, you know, one thing I always like to say when I'm talking about this kind of stuff is I don't have it down. Even with the Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, you know, use death. Like, everyone's just a work in progress. There's never a finish line. And that's difficult for some people. But at the end of the day, like, we're all just working. And I think the cool part about this is we get to share things. So for me, I would say that's my meditation routine. Do you guys have one?
I kind of used to do that, the sit down method, I guess. Mm-hmm. I would kind of do a similar thing with breath work. Mm-hmm. And then kind of one I like to do is you like take a breathe in, and in your head you think of like an aspiration or a goal, and then you take like a long breath out and you say the aspiration or the goal.
Really? So what's Tony Robbins? I think you guys know Tony Robbins. Yeah, I think he talks about awesome. That one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably where I got it.
Yeah.
I think like meditation, people always think that you just have to sit down and do it to meditate, but I think you can really do it anywhere. And like, I don't know, for me, like jumping rope is a meditation for me.
Yeah, walking, working out,
walking,
reading.
like anything where you're what you're doing, like you're saying, like
In the
if you put 100% of your focus in the reality and in the moment, technically you're meditating. Right now, like we're having this conversation and we're meditating.
We're meditating on
this conversation. So it's kind of, some people kind of misinterpret what it means to meditate.
Marcus Aurelius' book, Meditations.
That's a great one.
Yeah, you've read it?
Yes, sir.
Great book. Yeah, we could definitely have we could discuss any of these things for a long time. But yeah, Meditations is a great book. And like in the book, he's meditating on his life. So anytime you're in the moment, he's just in that moment, just focusing on reflecting. So
I'm curious, do you have any other books that you have on top of your head besides?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, and I might flex a little bit because I do love to read. I just finished a great book by the Maidens called The Maidens. It's a great fiction book. But in terms of nonfiction, because I know that's what you guys really like, David Goggins' book was great. I'd say every young man should read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Have you guys read that?
I just finished it the second time, like 2 days ago.
Great book, dude.
Yeah.
It is. Whew, man, that is. I got to read Beyond Order, his second, or it's like 12 More Rules for Life. But yeah, some of the things in that book and just learning about the Bible and psychology in that book is so good. And one of the biggest rules, I don't know what your favorite rule in there is treat yourself like you're someone you're responsible for. Because sometimes I'm so hard on myself, and I try to like be nice to everyone, and I'm like, sometimes I'm not even nice to myself. You know what I mean? So, and one of the things he talks about in that chapter is, do to others as you want done unto you. Like, you want other people to treat you good, but you don't treat yourself good. So it's something, that Bible verse to talk about it in a way that people don't usually talk about it. So
yeah, I love that book. Highly recommend it too. It's something where you can literally pick up and read, and like he has like sections of the book. So like if you just sit down and just pick up the book, flip to a random page, start at the top of a section, like it's so valuable.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a thick milkshake. Like it is.
It's deep.
It is deep. I mean, and that's Dr. Peterson. I think he's one of the great intellectual minds of our time. But really, anyone from the intellectual dark web, as they were known a few years ago, I think they got coined that. Like anyone speaking or writing, Jordan Peterson.
Are you familiar with Sam Harris?
Sam Harris, yeah.
So he has a book called Making Sense, and it's not really his. So he has a podcast, and he actually took like 12 different excerpts from his podcast, and he has like super deep conversations with 12 different guests, and he puts it in a transcript in a book.
Really? Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
I tend to disagree with Sam Harris. Well, he is like an atheist.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's why I really read this book, was because he's talking with someone else.
I'd love to read that book, because I think there's a lot, and like he also is a determinist in philosophy, and I disagree with that. I understand his argument that we're just like, you would make the same decision every time. You would, like, if in this moment I would just come and decide to do the podcast in every single reality, and maybe that is true, but I think there's certain specific moments of life where there's a spiritual process that we have to go inside ourselves to find the decision. That process could change depending on who we are as a person and what we decide inside. But I don't know if you have it, because I know that's one of his main arguments is he's a determinist.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Sam Harris.
Do you think we have free will?
Yes, I do.
I do too.
Yeah.
Sam?
I mean, I'm not even that well versed in this, to be completely honest, but probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think we do.
I just think there's a lot of like flaws with arguments like that, where it's like, okay, it kind of like Sam Harris, like the way he sees it kind of takes meaning out of life. And I don't know why you would want to like live that way, even if it was true.
Yeah, I mean, I think his style of like meditation and stuff, like I like it. I do like it, but I think like he's not one of my favorite people in the intellectual dark web. I mean, I like listening to the Weinsteins as well. If you listen to Brett and Eric Weinstein, they're awesome. Ben Shapiro, one of my favorites. I'm trying to get a media internship with the Daily Wire this summer. That'd be really cool, but something about some options there. But I was just listening to him on the way over, and for podcasting too. Just all these people are so well spoken.
You can learn so from
Jocko Willink. Like,
he's a beast, dude.
Yeah, dude, he's awesome. And like just hearing these people, it's like I drove home from Pittsburgh 2 days ago, and like I was like, man, I don't really want to do it. But then like I'd never done this before. I like literally pretended like these people. I kept my eyes open on the road, but I literally pretended these people were in the car with me. And it's like it makes the drive better. And just hearing these people makes me a better podcaster. Just hearing Ben Shapiro rant about something, like he's so well spoken in his words, and Joe Rogan, the way he kind of slowly builds up the guests, and there's just so much you can learn from it. And like honestly, like college, like there's it's good. It helps you learn, but like there's a lot of stuff on the internet out there on Spotify and the podcast that can help you learn as well. So
and it's so easy too. Like you just put it on when you're driving in the car, and like you can
definitely
encompass so much knowledge just from driving.
Now sometimes I like to bump music too.
I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, and it's not even like because I used to be that. I'd be like, ah, man, like, but music's a really powerful thing, and I think that music has helped me through a lot of bad times. And I think like music is a form of art, and really, I just love talking about different kinds of art in general. So I don't know what type of music y'all are into, but you know, being a DJ, I've gotten to a lot of different, even older types of music. Then I love some new school stuff as well. Like,
you're a big Mac Miller fan, correct?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I know you saw that on my Instagram.
Yeah.
So being in Pittsburgh, I really got into Mac. There's all kinds of sites you can go for, like his career and Frick Park Market. Shout out my guy Dave over there, up in Pittsburgh, but. Yeah, he knew, like a lot of the people that work at the store knew Mac when he was a kid and stuff. So he's a very local guy. He blew up at the end where he was going nationwide. Especially his relationship with Ariana Grande really propelled him to like nationwide, international status. But he was like a really local guy for a long time. Like kids, like man, that's
Are you a big Juice WRLD fan too?
And like I'm gonna be honest, I never really got into Juice. Like I think it's just maybe it's just like I think a lot of his stuff was really sad. Maybe it's just like when he was alive, I never really got into him too much. Like I did get into Mac posthumously, but like, yeah, I was just never really into Juice. I know you guys like Juice.
I'm a big Juice fan, but I can't really listen to him unless like if I put him on, man, I get in this mood and I'm like, okay, dude, I can't listen to him because like I don't know, something about his music just like speaks to me, and it's the same with Mac Miller. Like there's some of these artists that just like that you connect when you're listening to their music, and they fit a certain mood, and I'm not usually in that mood like majority of the time.
Yeah, I think Mac's definitely got some upbeat like songs too. But yeah, and like I mean, it was like what I was saying, like with music, or I love movie. Like we could talk movies, art. I'm gonna get the cam right downtown here. I've never been like, cause like to me as a person who likes to be creative, I like to, like if I see a painting that might inspire me for my book or something in my podcast, like just the emotions that art can capture. Like I think it's a very powerful thing, and I think that like art, when it's like, I used to think like someone made a good point to me the other day. It's like we had a discussion like, well, what makes a good piece of art? Like someone has to see it and it has to inspire something in them. But sometimes when you're creating something, it can inspire something in you. Like when it's finished, you're like, whoa, I didn't even know I had this in me. You know what I mean? Like, so I appreciate all kinds of art. I love movies, and I think like with some of the great artists of our day, like you can really feel like the emotion. Like I always talk about if I were to have people like on my show who are, not with us anymore, I list out names like Mac Miller and John Denver and Kurt Cobain, just like these great musical minds who just, because music is just such a powerful thing and it's been around for so long.
I agree, and I think they have like a creativity level that's like unmatched, and they like come up with these.
Well, Kurt Cobain couldn't even read music, neither could Paul McCartney, and they just like make up these rhythms, you know what I mean, and like saw it and made the lyrics. It's crazy.
What are some of your favorite like deep movies? Do you have any like? I've listened to your episodes and you talked about sports movies a lot. So what are some of like philosophical movies?
I do, typically like Philip.
If there are even any.
No, there are. It's just like there's a lot of them.
Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans is a philosophical movie. I'm gonna go with and then a couple of different life philosophies here. So, Fight Club, Dead Poets Society is another great philosophy movie. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. A River Runs. Have you guys ever seen A River Runs Through It? Mm-hmm. A River Runs Through It's very good. It's about like growing up and stuff. So I mean, really. There's so many. I'd say probably my favorite philosophical movie is Fight Club, just because when I saw it, I was like, this is so different from anything I've ever been seen or taught, and it was just good. And man, Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, man, Edward Norton's the GOAT. Like really, I feel like he's an underrated actor, but.
Yeah, I watched that movie for the first time, like I think a few months ago.
Did it surprise you?
Dude,
twist?
It was amazing, bro.
Yeah. Did it surprise you then?
Yeah, dude, it was amazing, bro.
That's awesome.
What was that other one we watched? With the bad mother effer. When he recited
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction. That's another great one.
Quentin Tarantino. You ever seen like Django and Glorious Bastards?
Yes.
All that. I'm a huge Tarantino fan. Scorsese as well.
Mm-hmm.
Taxi Driver is another philosophical movie. I don't know. Have you guys ever seen that? Sam's a big movie guy.
Sam is a big movie guy.
That's awesome. Taxi Driver. Shutter Island.
Yes.
Shutter Island, very good movie. Just watched that.
Are you a Nolan fan?
I never really got into him. I just heard someone on a podcast yesterday, like my guys have always been Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee. Man, I'm gonna go on for movies. I'm gonna go but I do like M. Night Shyamalan as well. Like I don't know if you guys know him, like Signs, Sixth Sense, Old. There's some philosophical movies there too, but I don't know if he's in my top 3. I'm gonna go Spike Lee. Not in any particular. Spike Lee probably 3, Scorsese 1, Tarantino 2. I like Scorsese a lot. I'm
curious your thoughts on Interstellar and thoughts on Avatar.
Why did I know I was gonna get asked about Interstellar today? Interstellar. I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about this. Also a great podcaster.
Mm-hmm. He kind of throws me off sometimes. Just
he can talk.
Yeah,
he can talk. Man. Okay. So, jeez. Okay. Interstellar is a very scientific movie, and I think for people who aren't into science, like the qualities of love and stuff, that was really powerful. But there's some holes in the plot. Not holes in the plot. There's some holes in my understanding of the plot where I'm just like, okay, that's just science because the time works that way. Because like, or that scene where he goes on the planet for 5 minutes, comes back, and she's like 45 years old.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler. If you haven't seen it at this point, that's on you. But I'm like, I guess that's how science works. I mean, because I don't know. I don't understand the reason behind that. You know what I mean? But my friend Mason Stevens, who went to NC State, I remember I seen that movie when I was like in 7th grade, and he was trying to explain it to me. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a good plot, but Avatar, you talking about Avatar or James Cameron's Avatar, right?
Yeah, the second one came out last night.
Yo, don't spoil it for me. I am so excited for
going on Monday.
I cried when I saw this movie for the first time. I think it's one of the great movies of our time, James Cameron, and like, don't even start on this because like sequels and like Marvel franchise is cool, but like you doing the same themes over and over and over and over again. Like, there's some Marvel movies that switch it up, but like the thing is, with Avatar, it was so creative. I'm hoping he keeps that same creativity in the second one because I loved it, and the CGI was so clean and so good. I mean, I heard the CGI is really good in this next one as well. But I think just the story of this man trying to find himself and like, man, Jake Sully and Neytiri, like I mean, like their relationship was really, really. I don't even like get that emotional movie sometimes, but I think just the way their relationship was done and how she taught him about to learn about it, like. That really inspired a lot of creativity for me because I was like, wow, the writing in there is just so clean and the villains seem so authentic and
it was a beautiful story.
It really was. Like, so that's what I'm saying. I'm very excited for the second one. Yeah. Apparently he's got 6 and 7 written already. 3 and 4 are already in production. So
what?
I know. Like, firstly, I thought they could have ended after 1 because like, spoiler alert, but he wakes up as like his avatar. So. Yeah, I don't know. You guys excited for it?
Dude, I'm so excited.
I'm pumped. I might need to go by myself just so I'm not like around anymore.
I think there's so many connections too to like real life, like from that movie, and like how they have their own god and everything's connected through nature and like it's literally all connected to our world today. Like you see it connects so much. Man.
It's beautiful.
And like the corruption of capitalism at times, not really capitalism in general, but people that are involved in capitalism, it can easily be corrupt, and that's how you destroy like nature and the world, and it really is a deep.
Yeah, it's very similar to. I think it takes a lot of themes from Dances with Wolves. Have you ever seen that movie? Dances with Wolves, great movie, Kevin Costner. But he ends up living with like a Native American tribe after the Civil War. He's the only soldier on his base, and he gets lonely and he falls in love with a girl. But I think it's really good. 3 hours and 10 minutes though, so you might as well go ahead and plan for the bathroom now, or like bring a bottle with you or something.
I think what he said was so they have like 4 more made, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. And depending on how this one does, if it underperforms, they're stopping at 3. But if it does well, each one comes out for the next 2 years, like alternating years. So one comes out this year, and then one comes out in 2024,
$2 billion to break even, Mm-hmm. But that's what he's like. I mean, have you guys seen Titanic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the great creators. He doesn't release a lot of movies though. Like, he doesn't have I don't even know what you catalog. I know like music's like this choreography, but like like Scorsese like has a lot of movies. Like he has a lot of, and that's why like Tarantino, in my opinion, he might be better than Scorsese. Because he hasn't dropped as many movies. Like, he's dropped 9. Like, we're waiting for 10. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. James Cameron, in my opinion, he's definitely one of the GOATs. Yeah. Who's your favorite director of all time, Sam?
Probably Christopher Nolan. I'd say...
It's very... I think what he does is ambitious. Is Interstellar him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Inception.
Yeah, I think he gets really... I think sometimes, like, he gets really heady with his movies. You know what I mean? And that's cool. I mean, I love philosophy, but, like... Scorsese, like, it's like the philosophy and the grittiness of like New York, or like Tarantino, it's like these characters who are like kind of caricatures of like a real life person, and like they're like, they're moved around and interacting with each other. Like, I like that grittiness, that realness. Like, even like Fight Club, Chuck Palahniuk's book, like there's that grittiness to it too. Like sometimes it gets like in the theory, I'm just
Yeah.
like, yo, like
I will say like that's just kind of the movies that I'm interested in. But my 2 and 3 would probably be Fincher and Dennis
Fincher
Villeneuve.
directed Fight Club, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What other movies did he direct?
Seven. Have you seen Seven?
No, I haven't.
Dude, so good.
Is that with
It's with Brad Pitt and Morgan
Freeman? Yeah. Okay, I gotta watch that.
It's super similar to Fight Club.
You think I'd like it?
Yeah. Have you seen The Prestige?
No, I haven't.
I think the most underrated Christopher Nolan movie.
Nah, this is good. You gotta put me on.
You gotta watch.
This is really why I ask
you
people about movies on my shows, because I don't even really care what they say. I just want recommendations.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's the same thing with books.
yeah, say it. Yeah.
I think a goal, honestly, for me, I don't know if we talked about this, but it's like have a screenwriter on, because I feel like talking to someone that comes up with these ideas and like writes these deep stories and plots and executes on them, that would be a fascinating
most
conversation.
definitely. I mean, I've thought about screenwriting, but it's also it's like it's different than I think, and like working with your acting and stuff. Movies, man, it's awesome. Movie magic.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour, so we usually try to cut it before. So we end every podcast that we have with one question, and it is what is one goal that you have? It could be like your personal life, it could be in your career, or a blend of the both. And what are you doing to achieve that goal?
Man, this is a good, you mind if I steal this question?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't steal it. This is patented. Man.
You can see.
Now I'm gonna turn it back to y'all, because I like to always I say I gotta answer my questions if I can ask. So what are y'all's goals? Maybe I'll get inspired.
Okay, I've answered this before, and I said someone did the same thing that you did, and I just said get better every day is my goal. I'll switch it up because I already gave the audience that answer. I really want to, like yourself right now, is I really want to get better at writing, and not even for like to share with anyone else, but really just because I see the value in it, and I'm trying to force myself to write every day if I can. So that is a goal that I have, and I'm trying to set time windows in every day that I have where I'm just writing and I don't have anything else, no other distractions, and that's something I really want to get better at.
What's up?
Yeah, I don't remember what I said last time, but I think just to go with a more tangible goal this time, I want to go to all 7 continents in the next like 10, 15 years.
Wow, that's a lot of traveling to do in 10 years. That's awesome. I'm gonna say I am gonna be the most authentic Sam Stewart I can be every day, and to do that, I think sometimes in life, human beings, I like to think of them, and you guys can tell it like metaphors, but we're kind of like an onion, I think, and sometimes we have to peel back the layers, and every time we do something new, every time we look at a piece of art, every time we read a book, watch a movie, do an activity, have a hard workout, we're learning about ourselves, and I want to learn as much about myself as I can, and like take that and show the world that every day, and just make myself better, and try to share that with people, and show them that it's okay to be yourself, because it's okay. I'm okay being myself, and I know that, like, that can mean stuff to other people, and it can mean that they can be themselves, because some people, they've never been told it's okay. And I just want to tell you right now, like, never be afraid to be yourself. Never be afraid to get help. A lot of mental health problems out there today, a lot of suicide, a lot of depression. Like, always go and talk to someone, because there are good people out there and there are resources to get help. So don't ever think about doing that. I'll tell you, like me, Kyle, Sam, you ever need something, DM one of us, like, we'll be there for you. So yeah, just try to make the world the best place I can. Try to be the most authentic Sam I can.
Yeah. So can you drop like anything, your podcast, and maybe any way to reach you, and then also maybe an estimated time frame of when the book is coming out?
Oh man, that's yeah, that's $1 million question. Well, in terms of the book, I'd say I would hope within the next 2 years. The publishing's a long process. When you get, let's say an agent signed me tomorrow, it would still be like a year and a half. So I'm thinking maybe 2-3 years, hopefully. I mean, I'm hoping this debut novel is a banger, but we'll see on that. But in terms of my socials, at the present tense WNJR on Instagram, like I said, it is like a college-based radio show, but the stories people tell, you can relate to it. I put up clips that anyone could relate to. Make sure you check that out. The link to my YouTube is in the bio. If you ever want to just send me a DM on my main account, samstew_12, send me DMs. I check those pretty regularly. So, even if you want to go meet up, do a podcast somewhere in Raleigh, I got some surfer friends we did podcasts with this summer. I'm going with some friends to the OBX in a couple weeks. I know we're going to do some like surfing videos and surfing interviews down there. So yeah, just hit me up. Let's talk about life. We don't even got to, do a podcast. Let's just talk. Let's just have some fun. So guys, I just want to thank you for inviting me on. This has been a lot of fun. Amazing studio. You guys are doing great things. And yeah, just like I say, keep it pushing, live free, and yeah, just have fun with it. You guys are doing a great job.
Dude, thanks for coming. We love what you're doing as well. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Second that. Pleasure.